And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be taking a look at the crazy world that we live in and having some discussion about what is going on in the news here today. And of course, if you wanted to join the live portion, if you're watching or listening somewhere else, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, respectfully. That is at Coffee Talk Live, and at Prepper University is where you can find that. As well as X, formerly known as Twitter, and that's at Coffee Talk Chat, if you're on X and you wouldn't mind joining us there. As well as fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, hopefully everybody's doing well today. I have Daniel joining me in the background, sitting in the chair or resting in the chair behind me. And we'll get ready to jump off here in a minute. Of course, I do read through as many of the comments as I reasonably can for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see. And I'll say hello to some of those people now. I see Rodney is here. He says that he made a mistake with the wish list and sent something to himself. And of course, that is, and I'll put it up here again, the Amazon wish list for our feline friends. And I guess there was some confusion. That's the link again. Sorry about that. At least you can return it directly. They do the free returns where you are, correct? Because I know Rodney is in New Zealand. Helter is here. Dragon is here. Jane is here. Brian, Cyberjack Sr., Puck is here. So we'll get ready to jump off here in a moment. Yeah, sorry about that, Rodney, that you're having the headache there. And if H12 comes in, I got news for him as well with something that he did. Fluke Man is here, as well as Monkey. And also, for those of you on Fistful of Radio, see fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. There are flubs. Now, yesterday's podcast, they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it because ScrewTube hit the channel, both channels, with copyright strikes. Copyright strikes. You know that incidental, like, just kind of lame elevator music that plays at the very beginning? That is music provided by Restream, non-proprietary, as a courtesy for the people that use its service. They gave me a copyright strike on both channels, and God, try negotiating with their AI and explaining anything, because it's every day it's something. I've mentioned it before. I open up the email. I get up in the morning and I open the email and I'm like, what am I going to find today from ScrewTube? Yeah, that's what it was today. And they were not able to, because they copy it directly from this podcast, Fistful of Radio. They couldn't get it. So now that's all messed up. And where are we? Tuck is here today. Glad you could make it as we get ready to take a look at what's going on in the world. It's just frustrating. They do it to really suppress your channel, to crush your channel, to make their so-called content creators kind of just give up and walk away. Because you can't fight it. You can't. I can't afford attorneys to fight with ScrewTube. Who can afford to do all that? Who can afford to be tied up in litigation for years? It just doesn't work. But we're going to jump all the way to France. Let's jump to France. Because as I'm sure you're all aware by now, there's been some with the French article. What happened in France's shock election and what comes next? A lot of people are upset about this. On Sunday night, Joy, French voter, I don't know what that even means. Joy, French voters, had once again kept the far right out of power. On Monday morning, uncertainty. A hung parliament shaky alliances, and the threat of turbulent years ahead. Oh, I see what they were trying to say, or their wording. I don't know if a colon was a good choice there. President Emmanuel Macron, who a lot of people think is the Antichrist, I've actually heard that said, called France's snap parliamentary election to clarify the political situation, but after the shock second round results, the waters are more muddied than they have been in decades. While a surge in support for the left wing or New Popular Front coalition foiled Marine Le Pen's far right National Rally Party, French politics is now more disordered than it was before the vote. So, what did we learn last night? Who might be France's next prime minister, and has Macron's is that right? Macron's gamble paid off. They called for violence. Left-wing political leaders called for people to block people and to block up the streets and to protest and riot and carry on. Because after leading the first round of voting last Sunday, the RN was closer to the gates of power than ever before and was on the cusp of forming France's first far-right government since the collaborationist Vichy regime of World War II. And that's important to understand, is that France has been basically a socialist, extremely left-leaning country since World War II. And you see how well it served them. France is a disaster. Okay. But after a week of political bargaining in which more than 200 left-wing and centrist candidates withdrew from the second round in a bid to avoid splitting the vote, the NFP, a cluster of several parties from the extreme left to the more moderate, emerged with the most seats in the decisive second round. The NFP won 182 seats in the National Assembly, making it the largest group in the 577-seat parliament. Macron's centrist Ensemble Alliance, which trailed in a distant third in the first round, mounted a strong recovery to win 163 seats, and the RN and its allies, despite leading in the first round, won 143 seats. Does that mean the NFP won the election? Not quite. Although the coalition has the most seats, it fell short of the 289 seats required for an absolute majority, meaning France now has a hung parliament. If this was a victory for anything, it was the cordon sanitaire, the principle that mainstream parties must unite to prevent the extreme right from taking office. Why? You're afraid they might fix something? Do you think they might fix something? Flukeman says, does Rumble do live shows? Well, this is a live show podcasting through Rumble right now. I'm not actually on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. Rumble is podcasting to YouTube. And Dawn is here and says, remember, thumbs up, like, and share. Yes, please do. Tuck says people have gotten copyright strikes for playing their own music and for a car driving past with the stereo on. That is true. That is true. And I have gotten in trouble for that, actually. I had done a video at a car show once, and there was a cover band there doing like an acoustic version of some rock song. Didn't sound anything like it. I got a copyright strike. So yeah, they're really screwy. And there's no one that actually reviews any of this. It's all AI. You can't explain anything to that bot. It doesn't know what you're talking about. And it says, and then like 2 minutes after you submit, after careful consideration, if it's copyright, they'll hit you fast. If it's anything else, like an advertiser strike, you could be waiting days, weeks, months. Monkey says it is only a victory for the left since they had to take all the different parties to form a coalition to even beat the RN, so it's not really a victory. Just like how the Republic of China, Communist China, and its warlords had to temporarily form a coalition together to even fight back Japan. And that it'll be unstable. Of course, it's unstable because it's France, period. France is a mess. France has never gotten its you-know-what together since World War II. And it's been steadily on the decline. That's why I always joke Paris is burning. It's burning every day. It's been burning every day for years. There's always riots out there. There's always people starting fires and throwing trash and throwing rocks, breaking out pieces of the pavement and throwing them. it's a disaster. They can't manage anything, but they want to stick with the same government style. They don't want to change it. Puck says France has multiple parties: Marxist, socialist, far left, leftist, extreme, far left, lots of variety. And Brian says YouTube is more like Google too. Well, Google does own it. And Rodney says Le Pen is only far right in the eyes of the insane leftists. That's correct. Rodney says, you're on Rumble. I can only find Coffee Talk 2. The latest video is 6 months old. Yeah, everything is supposed to be copying automatically to Rumble. And I guess YouTube interferes with it, Rodney. But yeah, that's me on Rumble. I guess it doesn't even really matter since nobody is on Rumble anyway. Nobody even sees it. Look at the views on that channel or on that service. And Jane says they hope that November 2024 is not like that after the U.S. election. And Fluke Man wants to know, didn't France help to invent or start communism? That I'm not sure about. And Take America Back is here. Glad you could join us today. Monkey says France being unstable and the only thing the coalition has in common is anti-RN. That's it. Anything else, they all disagree with each other on issues. Yeah. They don't agree on anything. It's a mess. And Justin Case has joined us. It's an absolute mess. It's an absolute freaking disaster. And it's not getting any better, and it's not going to get it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. France is a mess. And that's why I joke about the movie with Willis. What was the name of it? What was it? Looper. Bruce Willis and Looper. And it was a time travel movie, and the one guy kept telling him, hey, I'm from the future. You don't want to move to France when you retire. Trust me, go to Hong Kong. And he was like, no, I'm learning French. I'm going to go to France. And France was like a third world war zone in the future. I can see that happening. Because they can't run the country. They haven't gotten themselves straight for 80 years, more than 80 years now, right? More than 80 years. Embarrassing. It doesn't make any damn sense. It really doesn't. Is this going to work? Trying to do a transition here, it's getting wonky. So hopefully I'm still here. Look at that. Look at that lag. Give me a restream. Or ScrewTube. I don't know who's doing it to me. Fox News article. House Democrats joined the Republicans to pass crackdown of Biden's rules on dishwashers and fridges. You know this happened, that are supposed to save the world by getting rid of your refrigerators and your dishwashers and ovens and all of that kind of stuff. Well, now they're trying to block those new rules. Now they've had a change of heart. I guess they figure he's not going to make it. But now they've had a change of heart, and they're voting against it. A handful of House Democrats joined Republicans on legislation aimed at blocking new Biden administration energy efficient standards and dishwashers. The Stop Unaffordable Dishwasher Standards Act and Refrigerator Freedom Act. Those names are ridiculous. Passed along party lines Tuesday evening. Stop Unaffordable Dishwasher Standards Act. Sounds like Hank Hill. 7 House Democrats voted for each bill. The dishwasher standards legislation passed 214 to 192 with no GOP dissent. The refrigerator bill passed 212 to 192 with 1 Republican voting against it. Both bills are aimed at prohibiting the Secretary of Energy from enacting and enforcing energy efficiency standards for residential refrigerators, freezers, and dishwashers that are not technologically feasible and economically justified, the House GOP said. Well, good, because that's ridiculous, because people can't afford this shit. And Doc Galt has joined us. He said, just tuning in. Sorry I'm late. That's okay, Doc. Glad you could make it today, because it's ridiculous. You're setting these standards that nobody can afford. Making these laws in all of these states that, after 2030, you can't sell gas-powered vehicles anymore, or taking away people's rights to own a gas-powered chainsaw or lawnmower or whatever. It doesn't make any sense, and somebody needs to slow it down somewhere. Somebody needs to slow it down somewhere. And Doc says he hit the thumbs up. I appreciate it. Anybody who wants to hit the thumbs up or stars up or whatever the hell you got, I'll take it. Continuing on with the article, it also blocked rules that did not result in significant conservation of energy. Langworthy accused the Biden Department of Energy of a relentless assault on efficient, affordable, and reliable appliances for everyday Americans during debate on the bill Tuesday. I agree. The Department of Energy has said its new proposed rule on dishwashers would save Americans $652 million in utility payments and cut the appliance's water usage by more than a quarter. But you don't know if that's true. They'll still end up losing that money because the stuff costs more and it's less efficient. It requires more maintenance, or it breaks down more frequently. Our oven has stopped. Just as an example, we have a more modern oven, okay? General Electric. And the readout is failing. What is it? The F1E0 flash warning. If anybody wanted to look that up, General Electric F1E0. And that means the touch panel is dying or dead. So the stovetop works, but the oven won't, okay? You have to cut the power and then turn it back on, and the oven will work for a little while, and then it'll stop again. And it'll go back to that F1E0 flash warning, right? And we haven't fixed it yet, because if you go to General Electric's website to replace the component, it's $460. Shit, you may as well buy a whole new oven. $460. When I was growing up, that piece of shit oven that was in our apartment, that thing lasted for, I don't think we ever replaced it. The one the builder grade oven that was put in by the landlord, the whole time we were living in that apartment, nothing ever happened to that oven. It may have looked like it was going to fall apart. It still worked. You know what I mean? These modern appliances with all the electronic bullshit, they don't work. They're too sensitive. They break down too easily. Over time, it'll cost people more buying this expensive stuff and replacing it or trying to get it fixed than what they'll spend on utility costs. Unbelievable. Let me see here. Tuck says, you think appliances suck now? Wait until they get the next round of regulations passed. People will be throwing appliances away like Dixie cups. Like the modern televisions. Jane says, what do we think about the actor Alec Baldwin being charged? Gun fired off in movie Rust. It was not his fault. I don't know about that, if it wasn't his fault. He was playing with it. And he's the one that brought live ammo. Because him and his... read into it a little bit more. We talked about it a long time ago. He brought live ammo to the set for him and his buddies to play with, and it got mixed up. And he was playing with it. The cameras weren't even rolling. He was just pointing it at people and pulling the trigger, thinking he was funny. And a live round came out, and he killed somebody. So yeah, he was irresponsible. He was irresponsible. As much as the so-called armorer, who was a diversity hire, by the way, because he wanted to show that he had female staff. She had very little experience. He's also very anti-gun, by the way. He's huge with that kind of stuff. So where are we? Jane says, is it important for dishwashers? Don't we need an e-grids and water pipes working, but then cleaned properly? Yeah. Well, we have a dishwasher. We've never used it. We wash our dishes by hand. We don't bother with the dishwasher at all. Rodney says he has old appliances made in Western nations, and I can service them myself. Excellent. Flukeman says ads in the UK are trying to reduce car pollution by asking, is your journey necessary? People with these ideas are the biggest hypocrites. I'm sure they're driving around in their Land Rovers. And Doc says, I don't understand why they make such a big deal out of these appliances. Years ago, I bought an old forestry chainsaw. It's carbureted, no electronics. That thing runs better than any saw. Yes, absolutely. And Fluke Man says, better with a fireplace to cook your food in the good old-fashioned way. But just making the problem. Just making the problem. I'm having like all kind of flubs today. I'm tongue-tied. I'm glad that passed because those rules don't make any damn sense. It makes life hard on everybody. Life's already complicated enough. What they really want is all that digital garbage in your appliances so that they can track you even further. They can track you even further. So they can keep a closer eye on you. Because, who really needs a refrigerator that tells your Alexa to let you know that you're running low on eggs? The last time you cracked an egg, you didn't pay attention to how many were in there. You can't look and see. You need Alexa to tell you how many eggs you need. You need Alexa to tell you that you're low on milk. The last time you poured it, you didn't notice. You can't open the door and look. No, you have to have an AI smart refrigerator. That's what they're really trying to do. Tuck says the gas range they grew up with was there when they were born, and the next tenant inherited it. So over 20 years, maybe over 30. Oh my God. And Jane thinks that they make the appliances and cell phones and stuff like that on purpose. Remember, Apple got in trouble years ago for deliberately planting viruses in their phones to force you to have to need a new one when the new ones came out. They got caught up in that many years ago. Does that sound familiar? Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? Going to jump to big box stores here in a minute. We're going to jump to California in a moment. Puck says, have green wackos thought about where the inefficient appliances wind up? No, they don't. They haven't thought about it. Well, a lot of them will end up in the yard. They'll end up in the scrapyard, but yeah, many of them will just end up in the garbage, especially TVs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I would hope they'd end up in scrap, but you never know. It depends. It depends. But we're going to jump to California because Target is in trouble. Target is in trouble. You'll never guess why. Fox News article, Sacramento City Attorney reportedly has threatened to fine Target stores for reporting theft. Don't call us, we'll call you. The city of Sacramento, California's legal department threatened to fine the popular retail store for public nuisance over numerous calls to police after thieves stole from its Land Park location multiple times, according to the report. The Sacramento Bee reported that a person with knowledge of the warning who wanted to remain anonymous out of fear that they could be retaliated against, because Lord knows whistleblowers get treated like crap, said the Sacramento officials warned they would issue an administrative fine to Target at 2505 Riverside Boulevard in Land Park during the past year. A police spokesperson confirmed the location to the publication after being asked about the alleged warnings. After learning about the city's warning and comparable actions across the state lawmakers added an amendment to a retail theft bill outlawing these types of threats towards businesses from authorities. Governor Gavin Newsom, Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas, and Senator Mike McGuire are pushing a package with 14 bills that tighten penalties on retail theft offenses. You're the ones that loosened them in the first place. The lawmakers believe their legislation will help deal with retail theft crimes rather than pass changes to Proposition 47. So they don't want to see, now that's the thing right there. Proposition 47 is what caused all the problems in the first place. Nuisance, Robert Rivas, and Senator Mike McGuire, their names are on it. They're responsible, but they don't want to change that they want to try to tweak some other regulation because retail theft is out of control. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of damn sense. Oh my God. Oh no. Flukeman says having gadgets tell you you need more eggs creates laziness and boredom. There are cases of pilots falling asleep because gadgets does everything for them. They ought to have one to tell them to wake up. And Tuck says that Target asked for it. They thought they could appease the progressives. That's simply not possible. It is not possible. And Jane says in Oakland, California, a man had 80 people run at one time and grab stuff and rob his store. That happens a lot. That's those flash mob robberies. Flash mob robberies. It happens in New York. It happens in a lot of major cities. And Dragon thinks that reporting retail theft is racist, according to the California attorney. And Doc Galt says, doesn't California have some sort of crazy law? If it's less than 1,000, they aren't going to do anything. I think it's $920 or $980, but yeah, something around there, Doc, that they don't want to bother. It says last month, California's Secretary of State announced that petitioners had garnered more than enough signatures to place a measure to reform Proposition 47 on the November ballot. Proposition 47, a voter-approved initiative, passed in 2014, loosened the penalties for drug and theft crimes in California and has been blamed for California's rampant theft problems. I wonder if people actually vote for this stuff. Or if it's one of those things where you have to put a big question mark on it and say, did people really vote for this? Or was it tweaked somehow? Was it tweaked somehow? But that's just outrageous that the district attorney's office is going to threaten them with fines for reporting theft. You know, they have to report it for their insurance. They have to make a police report for their insurance purposes. If something like that happens, it helps with their insurance. They're supposed to make some kind of report. And Jane says they heard that 9 targets might be closing in California. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And Helter says, and they think that California is the model that we want the whole country to be modeled after. And they think that Gavin Newsom is a good alternative to Joe Biden. They think he could be the guy. He could be the guy. Jane says they thought that flash mob was a dancing in a group. Yes, but the flash mob can apply to other types of like spontaneous mob reactions. So they have done the flash mob dancing thing, and they've done other flash mob type stuff, but there's also flash mob like organized robberies too, or huge like 100-person shoplifting events. So that's what's going on in California. They want to fine stores for complaining. Fine stores for complaining. And people think that Gavin Newsom. Yeah, and Rodney calls it, he says, Gavin Nuisance. There you go. They want to, they think Gavin Nuisance is a good replacement for Joe Biden. Newsom Harris, 2024. Rodney says it's insane that Gavin Newsom is still in charge of California. Why do people keep voting for that guy? Are they, though? This is the kind of thing that makes you wonder. Hey, is somebody interfering with those votes? People are suspicious of that, but you're not allowed to talk about it. You can't sit there and openly be suspicious without somebody saying something. And Raccoon Eyes is there. It says, normies don't see how corrupt Democrats and rhinos are. I try to tell people at work, but they just don't believe what the government could, steer us wrong. Sure they will. They'll take advantage of you in a heartbeat. They'll take advantage of you in a heartbeat. I'm going to take a look at Biden here for a second. Business Insider, I thought this was just funny. Biden didn't show up for an early evening meeting with the German chancellor because he had to go to bed. It's past his bedtime. He couldn't talk to the chancellor. He didn't have time. Let me look. Here we go. Let me check my watch. Nappy time. Nappy time, folks. What is that stain on his jacket? Can you see this image? Can anyone see this image? Do you see his jacket? I always notice weird stuff like that. And wow, he's orange in that photo. Did they touch this picture up? You know he's pale. You know he looks like Casper. What is that stain on his jacket? Did he have is a chocolate bar melting inside of his interior pocket, or because it's on the flap too? The outside flap, you can see it along the rim there. Who sees that? Come on, guys. Rodney says, yeah, whenever I question vote counts in the comments, YouTube deletes it. I don't know what it is, Jane. I don't know what it is. She says, what is that? And Brian has a suggestion. Yes, the brown stain, Monkey. There's a brown stain there. That's why I blew the picture up so that you could see a brown stain on his jacket. I'm surprised that nobody said anything about that, because you know any weird thing with Biden, they'll tear it to pieces now in the media. How did they miss that? Oh my God. Maybe it spilled from his peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh my God. And D-Lo is here. He says he just got the notification. That's a shame. That's a shame, but I'm glad you could make it today. Oh my goodness. Let me get back to the article. So here we go. Biden canceled a meeting with Olaf Scholz, saying he had to go to bed. The meeting was an informal gathering during the G7 summit to discuss Ukraine. I'm surprised. Oh, he skipped a Ukraine discussion? Wow. The White House has faced scrutiny over Biden's mental acuity and ability to run for a second term. You know, George Clooney is in the news today. And you know George Clooney is such a suck-up, he would lick that stain off of the jacket. Seriously, he's so left, it's disgusting. But even he's saying, Biden, please step down because I don't think you're going to make it. He was in the news today talking about that. President Joe Biden canceled an early evening meeting with the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the last minute because he had to go to bed, according to the Wall Street Journal. The newspaper reported that the event was an informal gathering in Germany amid the G7 summit in 2022. Oh, this is just coming out, and was meant to be a low-key meeting to discuss the Ukraine. Two unnamed people who were there told the Journal that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announced that Biden would not make an appearance because he had to rest. According to the report, the Chancellor and his aides were surprised by Biden's absence and Blinken's appearance. I bet. Because they're trying to find ways to funnel more money to the Ukraine, even then. Jane thinks it's taco droppings. You think he has tacos? I thought tacos was more Bill Clinton's speed. Tacos and Bob's Big Boy. And D-Lo says, thumbs up, please, guys, if you don't mind. Puck says, chocolate stain. Oh, from a small child. Shame on you, Puck. And Dragon says, easily understandable. He didn't go to bed before 8 p.m., so he had to catch up on his sleep. Surely any national emergency that happens after 4 can wait until the next morning. And Tuck says, George Clooney, correct. George Clooney's very left-leaning. George Clooney said in statements today, it popped up in the news feed. I didn't copy it, but it popped up in the news feed that Biden might need to step back because he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. And it reminds you here that Axios, citing people close to the president, previously said Biden worked best between 10 and 4 p.m. and struggled to function outside of that time frame. We talked about that in detail last week when that article first came to light about that whole 10-4 scenario and what that means to me as far as that timing in my experience in mental health. And Jane wants to know if we could stop giving money to the Ukraine. It would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice if we could stop giving money to the Ukraine. And I know that Republicans have been brutally attacked for downvoting, okay, recently. And I wonder if I can open this image up. I'll see if I can show this to you. No, it's not going to let me show it to you. There's an image that I wanted to show. I could try to share it tomorrow. Accusing them of downvoting on veterans' rights and downvoting on Social Security and all this other stuff. 100%, 90%, 80% of Republicans voted no on this, this, and this. But what they voted no for was all-encompassing packages like the Ukraine package. It's not just a $78 billion Ukraine package. There's 500 other things tacked onto it as an incentive. And so they say, oh, well, you're voting for veterans. And it's like, no, this is really a vote to give $78 billion to the Ukraine. I don't want to vote for that. But, oh, man, it just keeps getting worse. It just keeps getting worse. I'll try to get that image for tomorrow. But while we're on the subject of corrupt politicians, corrupt, other one for you. You know, I'll showcase these every time I can find one. This is an Alabama senator, I believe, on his way to jail. Western Journal article, Democratic lawmaker Kelvin Lawrence arrested on felony forgery charges. Alabama Democratic legislator has found himself in legal trouble, according to WSFA and Montgomery State Representative. Oh, he's a representative. I thought he was a senator. State Representative Kelvin Jamichael Lawrence was arrested Tuesday. The report said the 50-year-old Democrat was charged with 2 felonies, second-degree forgery and second-degree criminal possession of forged instruments, basically forged documents, is what that means. The indictment of Lawrence alleges, quote, intent to defraud, falsely made, completed, or altered a builder's license, the Alabama Attorney General's office said. The 2 charges are Class C felonies, meaning the lawmaker could face a total of 20 years in prison. He won't. He'll skate under. In addition, under state law, any elected official convicted of a felony is automatically removed from office, according to WSFA. Alabama House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter put out a statement in response to Lawrence's arrest. Hear what he had to say. It's, I expect members of the Alabama House of Representatives to hold themselves to the highest standard of integrity in both their personal and professional lives, the Republican said. Representative Kelvin Lawrence's indictment presents an unfortunate situation for his constituents and colleagues alike. It's amazing how many politicians, I mean, it's almost every week, isn't it? I'm showing somebody being indicted or going to jail for committing some kind of basic fraud. Quote, I have full confidence in our justice system. Yeah, well, you do. I don't. Ability to assess the facts of the case and determine an appropriate course of action. Lawrence declined to comment. I bet he did. The indictment, which has not been made public, accuses State Representative Kelvin Jamichael Lawrence of using a falsely made, completed, or altered builder's license with the intent to defraud. No additional details were released. So we don't know exactly how this license is defrauding anyone. Maybe it's a state contract. And Tuck says Kelvin Lawrence. Yes. and Doc thinks he'll get a slap on the wrist in some cushy prison. He'll probably get 2 years. Yeah, he's not going to go away for 20 years. I doubt it. 2 Class C felonies, forgery of some kind of building license, and then, I mean, was he making a fake document to steal city funds? Or I guess we'll have to wait till it gets to trial to find out exactly what the purpose of the document was that he forged or had forged. But damn, guys, another one bites the dust. Like I said, it seems like every week we're showing some corrupt politician somewhere in the United States getting flushed down the toilet. And Mr. Mead is here. Finally made it to a live stream, he says. Glad you could make it. Glad you could make it today. Taking a look at Kelvin Jamichael Lawrence, representative in the state of Alabama, who is on his way to prison for forgery. And Puck thinks that Biden keeps Hershey's Kisses in his jacket pockets for emergencies. And Mr. Mead says, first day off of work in 3 weeks. Wow, you've been busy. But there's no jobs out there, right? No jobs. But we need migrants because we need people to work because they can't make up their damn mind. They can't make up their damn mind. Oh, here's something I wanted to show. I wanted to show this. I ran across this. This is something that's been happening across the country off and on for a while. And Prime Mover says they just got here too. Can I start over? No, I'm afraid not, but it'll be saved unless ScrewTube really sticks it to me. Let me show this image. Y'all should know what this is. No matter where you are, you know what that is. Cyberjack says worser and worser. Indeed. Those are parking meters. Now, this has been happening across the country off and on. Now, do you know what happened to them? You see what's wrong with the parking meters there in that image? Somebody sprayed sealant, that expansion foam that you use for like plumbing projects and things like that. HVAC, the spray can sealant. People go around and they spray it into the coin and credit card slots on the parking meters so they can't be used. And people hail this. They love this, okay? And as much as I like fighting the system, if you're going to fight the system, you got to do it right, folks. And this is not the right way. And I had commented on this, and I got slammed for it. I had commented on it in somebody's feed, and I got slammed for it by people. And it just emphasizes to me how dumb people actually are. Here's my argument. First of all, you can't clean that out. You can't. It would cost more to take that apart and try to get all that foam out because it's going to be all through that system. It's going to be all through that meter. It's basically ruined. Okay? So that meter is going to have to be replaced. And then I'm like, your tax dollars are going to pay for those meters. So you're championing people destroying these parking meters because you don't like the idea of parking meters. If you don't like parking meters, don't park there. That's the only way you can really honestly protest that. Never use a parking meter. Encourage other people not to. Hey, you know what? You can walk 3 blocks. Screw the meter. Forget about the meter. That's how you protest parking meters, okay? If you destroy them, they're just going to use your tax money to buy new ones. And then the argument, people are like, hey, brah, I'm always brah on these things. Hey, brah, you need to STFU. You don't know what you're talking about. Tax money was used to buy those meters in the first place. Yeah, that's kind of the point. You want to have to pay for them twice, 3, 4, 5 times? Bonehead? It never ceases to amaze me how dumb people are. You know, I shouldn't be so surprised. I know people are not that smart. They have the potential to be quite intelligent. I mean, it's okay to make mistakes. I've made plenty of them. It's okay. Oh man, it's okay. Damien says, if someone can't use a culvert, what's the best blocks or bricks for a bunker? I'll have other substances and layers also. I would go with standard cinder blocks, because after you set the cinder blocks, you can run rebar down through them and then fill them with concrete. Mr. Mead says he's had the job for 10 years. He hopes he's safe with lots of new people and they're not from America, just something they noticed. Wow. And Prime Mover gets it. He says your taxes are paying for a new meter. Exactly. And Puck says, bunker, what about a shipping container? Never do that. I've done a few videos on that in the Prepper University channel. It's a death trap if you bury a shipping container. But anyways, I just wanted to run that over because, like I said, I had commented on that, and a slew of people, hey, brah, why don't you STFU? You don't know what you're talking about, man. Brian says, unfortunately, most people would rather pay $20 at the beach to park their car than protest by walking a mile. I'd rather walk. Yeah, it's better for you. But, people are lazy. People are out of shape. I could go on and on. You get the idea. I just wanted to run that over. I wanted to talk about it real quick. And since we're on the subject of bunkers, I give you FEMA. I give you FEMA, everybody. This is an article from the Center Square. FEMA program for migrants grows along with the border crisis. And I'll tell you what really caught my attention about this particular article. So, City of Atlanta received $4.85 million in funding in 2023, the first year of the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Shelter and Service Program for migrants. In 2024, because they're coming here too, just not as many. The city in 2024, the city will get $10.89 million in the second year, with another round of funding later in the year to be announced. FEMA's Shelter and Services Program is another indicator of the growing impact of the arrival of millions of foreign nationals into the U.S. since Biden took office. The program provides grants to communities for the expenses that it will incur during the handling of migrants. There were 14 states, including Washington, D.C., that received the first tranche of money in fiscal year 2023. All right, so what they're talking about is your tax money being given to cities, including Atlanta, for the so-called migrant crisis. But what really caught my attention about this article is the picture of FEMA's office. Notice anything? Notice anything about FEMA's office picture here? Because I always notice weird things and I point them out. Damien says, thanks to Prepper and Uni, no problem. And Rodney says, parking costs are insane here in New Zealand. I usually avoid areas where parking requires to be paid for. I don't blame you. And then Fluke Man says, like in London with people destroying the ultra-low emission zone cameras, think the cameras or emissions detectors from cars on the road and charge you just for driving in that area. Yeah, you destroy the cameras, your tax dollars, you're just going to pay for a new camera. You'll keep paying for it. And Doc says, I feel like Clint Eastwood in the movie Gran Torino every time someone says, bruh. I'm not your bro, no kidding. Yeah, a lot of people are catching it. Rodney, Puck, Doc, Damien, Helter, the flags. This is what really caught my attention. Bad enough that they're throwing tax money at these states as an incentive. Look at the row of flags. You got the American flag. Okay, that should be in the government office. You've got the Department of Homeland Security flag. I don't know why that's in the FEMA office, but okay, whatever. It's another government agency. Maybe they share the office. Then you have the FEMA flag, okay? Federal Emergency Management Agency, the FEMA flag. That's the one with the traditional stars and stripe shielded eagle. But then there's the Alphabet Mafia flag hanging in there. Why the hell is that hanging in the FEMA offices? Why is a social flag hanging in any government office? And this is the Georgia FEMA office, all right? So shouldn't the Georgia state flag be hanging in there? American flag, again, Homeland Security. I'm not sure why that flag is there. Again, perhaps they share it. I think they must share it because I think, yeah, the shield, the standard on the wall is a Homeland Security standard. So they must share the office. Okay, I'll excuse that. FEMA's flag, the next flag should be the state flag. Am I wrong? Why do we have a social flag hanging in there? What's the problem? What's up with that? Oh my God. Oh my God. Puck says depravity isn't a country, state, or agency, therefore it doesn't get a flag. Apparently it does. No social flag. I don't want to see a rainbow flag or a BLM flag or anything like that in any government building. I don't want to see it in the post office. I don't want to see it at the FEMA headquarters. I don't want to see it in a public school. I don't want to see it at the library. Official flags, state flags, government flags. You know what I mean? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense to me. That's just the world we live in, unfortunately. But that's what really caught my attention. Bad enough, again, as the article points out, throwing money at these states, including Atlanta, apparently, millions and millions of dollars to pander to illegal immigrants. This is what their office looks like. This is what their office looks like. This is what your tax dollars are paying for, folks. Are you satisfied? I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy with that at all. I don't want your social and political agendas jammed down my throat at every possible opportunity. I'm sick of it. Leave us the hell alone. Let us live. It's all anybody wants, really, is to be left the hell alone and get on with their lives. Ultimately, I think people would be a lot less nasty if they didn't feel like somebody was always over their shoulder watching them or trying to force them to do something. Even as bad as I think most people are. Honestly. You know, we're going to jump. Speaking of corruption and weird stuff, another weird observation coming up. We're going to jump back to California. See if someone can explain this to me. Damien says they're a fan of the 13 stars and circle design in the original flag. Looks so good. Yeah, the 13 colonies flag. I can see that. That's a classic. 13 colonies flag is classic. Savvy Dime article. California Electric Company to turn off the power for thousands of residents amid extreme heat waves and raging wildfires. Wait till you hear the explanation for this. Pacific Gas and Electric has announced it will be turning off the power for thousands of California residents in the coming days among ongoing heat waves and raging fires. According to the electric company, these moves must be made to try to limit potential wildfires amid very hot days and high winds. Okay? So, you know, without looking at all of the sorriness in here, I want to get to the actual explanation from the company. I'm panning through here. To get to where it tells you why they're doing this. Here we go. This is their explanation for why they're cutting off power to thousands of people in California for days at a time. All right, you ready for this? According to the utility company, this planned power outage is happening because they're concerned about high winds that these counties may see in the next few days, right? These winds could cause a tree branch or other forms of large debris to hit an electric line. If these lines are live, then this could potentially cause a devastating wildfire. Therefore, they feel it's best to just shut the power off for the time being. Seriously? Let me catch up a couple of comments and we'll get back to that real quick. Bucky says, we've allowed these idiots to show their, quote, pride crap everywhere and anywhere. I especially do not like the specific flag because of the triangle at the end of the flag, which represents a word I can't say, buckle. But I understand where you're coming from with that. Flukeman says he's sure that even Alphabet and BLM supporters want to be left alone at times. I bet. And Puck says it's fake because California is awash in green energy. Sure they are. And Rodney says, for goodness sake, the mismanagement of California is so bad, I have to conclude it's intentional by nuisance to destroy his own state. That's my conspiracy theory, is that the lawmakers in California are deliberately ruining the state because they have some kind of like behind the scenes deal with all of these billionaires that have been buying up huge areas of land, pockets of land in different parts of California for pennies on the dollar. Because they want to build their bird cages. They want to build their, quote, mini utopian cities, their 15-minute cities. But once again, they're claiming that because they're of weather, it might cause a tree branch or something to fall on a power line, that it could cause a wildfire. So they're going to shut your power off. So tree branches never fall on power lines? Seriously? I mean, hell, I'm in Georgia. Stuff falls all the time. It's pretty rough out there, actually. It's pretty rough out there. Water main breaks happen all the time. Power lines go down all the time. It's pretty common. Branches don't fall. You know, this is why trucks drive around and cut branches back, right? You've seen crews out, haven't you? Cutting back branches from power lines. They have like a pattern they follow every year to try to prevent that. Oh, but it might cause a fire. Oh, it might cause a fire. And we've got climate change. They're trying to save you from climate change by shutting your electricity off for days at a time. Days at a time. Dragon says, keep adding ridiculous fees and taxes and the service just gets worse. No kidding. And Flukeman says, only in California. California. You have to spell that with a K. And Sean says, if the person pulling the power breaker also shutting off power to their own air-conditioned house. I really doubt that the administration at the power company will suffer at all. I'm sure they will be fine. And that's, start your own conspiracy theory there. What other reasons might they have for cutting the power? You can't tell me they're shutting the power off because a downed line might start a fire somewhere. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me. And that's what Puck is saying. I wonder what the real reason is. And Doc says in Indiana, we have crap falling all over the place. Yeah, like I said, I'm in Georgia, man. Stuff falls all the time. Or, lightning strikes a pole. They can usually get the power back up pretty quick when it does go down. Water main breaks happen all the time. That's just par for the course when you're dealing with utilities. If Flukeman ponders the same question, did they shut the power off in their area? I doubt it. And one more here. Prime Mover says PCG has been sued in the past while being blamed for wildfires. Their stock tanked. Maybe they're just covering their asses. Hey, maybe. I don't know how they can be sued for a wildfire. That's just the cost of doing business. That's an accident, act of God. is what they used to call that when it's a weather-related accident or disaster, act of God. But with that, I will go ahead and start wrapping things up. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk. And if you are catching us somewhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University, as well as X. You can find us at Coffee Talk Chat if you're on X. And fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And joined only today by Daniel, who has been asleep in the chair back there most of the time, keeping me company. Daniel, one of 20 cats we're currently taking care of. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thanks, everybody who was able to join us here today.